Okay, this video is on the scientific investigation or scientific method. Once again, I don't necessarily believe that the scientific method is a step-by-step process. Many times you jump around. So the experiment is the organized procedure to study something under controlled conditions, and we've talked about observations as the process of gaining information. And when we take a look at scientific investigations, one of the things that we could use is a model. And many times we use models because something is too big, too small, too expensive, too complicated, or too dangerous. You may have seen a model of the solar system. We don't have the true solar system in our room because it's too big. You've seen a model of the atom, too small. Some of you might have model cars or airplanes at home, too expensive. Some of you may have heard meteorologists talking about weather models. They're too complicated. Or we may have to use a model of like a crash test dummy, which is it's just too dangerous. Although at one point in time, people did volunteer to be crash test dummies for money. If you have enough money. So a hypothesis, the textbook definition, is a testable idea or explanation. I like the definition of it's an answer to your question. What are you trying to find out? Your hypothesis is that answer. Once again, hypotheses need to be constructed so that they can be tested and they can always change. As you start your investigation, if you find out that your hypothesis is not being supported, make a better hypothesis, change it. The goal is just to learn something. And once again, the book talks about going through cycles of testing, but the goal is that you formulate your hypothesis, change your hypothesis, modify your hypothesis, so that in the end you can come up with that correct answer. Parts of your experiment, we have variables. The book talks about two, but there, in my eyes, there are three very important ones. First of all is the independent variable. That is the variable that you are going to change. If you are changing the amount of water something gets, if you change the amount of nutrients something gets, if you change the length of sunlight, that is the independent variable. That is what you are changing. The dependent variable is what changes because you change something. It is dependent on the independent variable, the height, the color, the mass. What is going to change because you change something else? And the book doesn't talk about controlled variables, but those are the ones that you need to keep constant. You change one thing, you let one thing change, everything else needs to stay the same. Those are controlled variables. Data. Data are all those things that you write down, whether they are qualitative or quantitative. Once again, we need to make sure that we're writing down as much information as we can so that we understand what's going on. And when we take a look at it, our goal is to come up with what is the relationship between the independent and dependent, and that we have the correct hypothesis in the end. In my eyes, science is happening all the time. Now, are you going to go through the scientific method all the time? No, but it is part of your everyday life. And when we take a look at a good scientific investigation, it should be repeated multiple times. That means that you can start the experiment, end it, start it, end it, start it, end it. Or maybe if you're growing something, you don't just grow one thing, you grow 10. That's one of the things that Gregor Mendel got in trouble with, is he didn't have a large enough population of his plants. And also it needs to be able to be replicated, and that is important. And at some point in time, hopefully in your life, you'd be able to publish something to a journal or the internet. And once again, we learned that not everything on the internet is true. One thing that is out there now is called native advertising, and it is going to show up as sponsored content. That means that someone is paying for it. Here, this is sponsored. That means that someone is paying to have this on Yahoo. That's how they make their money. And this is one that I thought was funny. The Onion is a satire of things that are going on in public life. Kim Jong Un was labeled the sexiest man alive by The Onion, which is The Onion is the satire. And it was kind of funny. The Chinese government read it, believed it, and sent people to interview, for the most part, Kim Jong Un on that. So that's what we have for Unit 1, Lesson 2. Have a great day.